Okay, folks, a best of often means end of part one or something like that. It's like a new start after that. Is that the way it is with the Corrs and the best of?
No, certainly not. I mean, we did deliberate this for exactly that reason, that people get the impression that, say, it was the closing or an end, and that's definitely not the case. We would kind of view it as a chapter in the life of our musical history, and we intend to go on for an awful long time. That's for sure.
The last one you did in Blue, you did it in Ireland.
Mm-hmm.
Why do it in Ireland? It's often the other way around that people do it, like if they're Irish, do the first one in Ireland and the next one in LA or something.
Well, I think the way it worked with us was like Forgiven Not Forgotten. We got to work with like this big producer, David Foster, and we were just like a baby band at the time, and we had sold absolutely no records, so it was kind of like the thing for us to do was to go out to him at the time. But the way it was with the third record was like we could do it wherever we wanted to do it, and we chose to do it in Ireland because we hadn't been home in so long, and we just wanted to be in Ireland for a change and go home to our own beds at night. So that was really the main reason why we did it there, But
at the same time, that was the album that got you 1 million sales in the States as well. Was there a good milestone about that when you said, that's exactly what we want, 1 million in the States? Or do you ever think to yourself, maybe this stateside dream thing is something that maybe we shouldn't be trying to attain all the time? Like, there's other places out there. There are people in Atlantic Records that have said that the States isn't necessarily the number one as people think. It's the icing on your cake. But there's number ones in Malaysia and Southeast, blah, blah, where you've been in Asia. And that's been pretty good too. Do you ever think of not worrying about it, is what I'm saying?
I don't think we really do worry about it. I mean, I think for us, if you kind of look at what we've done since Forgiven Not Forgotten, in the very beginning, because we were signed to American record label, obviously their whole thing was for us to do very well in the States. But almost immediately we came back home to Europe and started promoting and releasing everywhere. So for us, no one place has been the only place together or the place to get. In fact, we just wanted everywhere. So kind of the States is just everywhere else and it as well.
So therefore, if the hunger is still there, like there was one story, I think it was Andrea, but I might be wrong, I'm not sure. Like you're on with Celine Dion, and you see Celine Dion coming backstage in her big yoke-me bob, and you see her dressing room, and you say, this is something we wouldn't mind attaining. Now you are at a point like that, and you want to make it on your own terms. Are you as hungry now to say, do the States, or make the States, or crack the States, or whatever, as you were to just make a success 4 or 5 years ago of whatever the Corrs might have happened to be?
Well, you're always as hungry to try and maintain the success. So we certainly are, to try and maintain the success that we've achieved. There's always countries that we want to we want to break it in that we haven't broken before. I think it was a challenge. It was kind of like America was like the final frontier, I suppose, because it hadn't come in for us before. But we've broken the ice there now. We'd certainly like to do better, and hopefully we'll be able to achieve that on the next album.
Okay, the next album. One thing about the Corrs is you're not tied to a particular sound. Is that a good thing for the leapfrog after a best of to the next album, if you like, that you can actually go anywhere? Take the advice from those of Atlantic, but do what it is you want to do as well. Never totally be dominated by somebody else. In other words, the world is your lobster, basically. Do you know what I mean? Is that the way you see it in terms of sound?
I think we've never felt tied in any way, and the only thing you're tied down by is what you come up with. Do you know what I mean? The music dictates. I mean, what you come up with when you're writing is that dictates your album. So I think for us, with every album, is just to improve and become better songwriters, and hopefully as it goes down the road there's possibly a little bit more maturity to the albums, and I think we have achieved that. The next album is not something we're thinking, this is going to be wildly different, or now we're going to be into speed metal or something. Do you know what I mean? It's like, it's just going to be an extension of what we have been, hopefully, like each album. They're just like stepping stones.
This is the right time. Once in a
better now between the four of you in terms of interrelationships on the road, is it? No, I'm not saying it's bad.
Yeah, no, I know exactly what you mean for sure. I think as you say, get older, I think you give each other a little bit more space. You listen to each other a little bit more.
Yeah.
And everybody in this band, unfortunately, has an opinion.
Yeah.
So we're like, that's the thing. You're dealing with four people. If you're a solo artist, you say what you want to do. But for us, we've got four people that constantly, are saying, well, I want to do this, or I want to do that, or I feel good about this, and we have to come up with one solution to what we're going to do, or one idea, and that's always going to be a difficulty.
Yeah.
But I think now we kind of go, I don't care, just do it.
Right, yeah.
You're kind of more, you're just kind of more, I suppose, open to everything, I suppose.
But also, isn't there a thing that, like in 95, 96, when you were definitely younger than you are now, and no matter how much you think you can take on, the idea of the amount of work that you did, being one of the hardest working bands of the 90s, the jet lag, the exhaustion and the stress, that's going to lead to a few hassles that maybe your body has become more accustomed to, or your whole mindset has, and you can take it much easier now, and therefore give the space that you, Caroline, are talking about.
Well, we can indeed. I mean, at this point, you're kind of lucky when you get to a certain level of fame that you can reduce the so-called padding. In terms that we perhaps would have had to have done at the very beginning. So there's a lot less of that. We will only do the biggest of shows. Obviously, this is a very, very big show, so you have to do this one. and so that's it. So I mean, you learn to cope. The jet lag is horrendous, but I think. I've never experienced jet lag that I felt the very first time when we went to Boston to play in the Kennedy Library. It was dizzy spells. You thought the whole building was moving. It was chronic fatigue, and in some way your body just doesn't put you back into that zone again fully, completely. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But it does take its toll. We try and give each other as much space as we can. Obviously, we suffer from moods like everybody else, so it's just a question of grinning and bearing it when the times are hard.
Yeah, but it's really funny to say jet lag in terms of going to do the JFK Library. I mean, that was the one-off gig. That was the first thing. That was the first going abroad. Like, that's nothing compared to some of the things I read of a schedule of yours of back and forth, in the same day from LA, New York, back to Celine Dion's tour and back to something else.
No, there was worse. There was what we had to do. This was unbelievable.
And 15
we flew to, I can remember this.
Huh?
We flew from Dublin to Atlanta, then from Atlanta to Toronto, and then did a week in Canada, then flew to Japan, flew the whole way from Japan to London, then to France, and then France back to Australia, all in 3 weeks.
So we did
Not unreal.
continents. That did start off with actually Celine Dion and The Point the night before we left.
Right.
And that was pretty staggering. I think the difference nowadays is that every time we go out to each territory, we know what we're in for. There's a greater difficulty in going out so kind of young and naive, and you don't know what you're going to be put through, and therefore it is more taxing. Now we know we can control it a bit more. We know how to get it done quicker. And we know, we've practically every TV show there is, we must have done.
Yeah.
So it's no big surprise for us now, and there's a lot of comfort in that. You feel more comfortable. So going out to the JFK, library the first time, that was a whole new world for us. That was kind of frightening, fish out of water. So in that way, it wouldn't make the jet lag any easier, and you'd be that little bit more stressed and less confident, and it was harder.
Yeah, but
then.
the word confidence, you go out of the JFK thing because the Irish ambassador of the Kennedy family goes to see your gig at Whelan's, and she says, I wouldn't mind them doing something, and so you go out. You do this gig, and you say, while we're out here, let's do something. So you go over to LA and you do the sort of, let's try and get a deal here. Now, lack of confidence first time round, you stand outside Michael Jackson's producer's bloody office, and you won't let him go.
That's naivety.
That's ignorance.
Yeah, but there's not many people who do
not
that,
like
because that kind of bad manners is pretty cool, Let's face it, it was that, And you probably thought you were going to get beaten up by Michael Jackson's bodyguards, all the rest, etc.
Sure.
And you took one shot at it, and it just worked like a dream.
Yeah, I just, that had a lot to do with John Hughes. Had a lot of hard neck, and he had a lot of experience, doing that himself for minor detail, going out, getting the record deal, all the rest, knocking on doors, being rejected. So he kind of had developed a very hard neck at that stage, And for us, I suppose it was, but. When you're younger, there's kind of less fear in things. You fear of nothing, so you don't really care about walking up and standing outside Michael Jackson's studio. And if you don't get in, you don't get in.
plan? Was there any kind of a plan at all that you had in mind, of a 2-year plan or a 4-year plan, or like, I mean, on average you've sold about 4 million albums each year, which is about up to 25 million albums now. That's
That's not bad.
If anybody said that in '95, would you have said, "I'll take that"?
Yeah,
absolutely.
For sure.
We had a 10-year plan, actually.
Yeah.
Yeah, we did. It's sort of it's an elusive type of plan, but we had it. It was, I suppose, just to kind of
Wreck ourselves.
Just to wreck ourselves, for 10 years solid, and see if there was anything left of us by the end of it. But we kind of had a plan just to be as successful as we could, and to kind of really work hard and get better at what we do. And definitely there was a plan to have achieved a certain amount of success within 10 years, and we exceeded that.
So goalposts shifted all the time. I mean, one of the first things was the idea of selling 1 million records.
Yeah.
That was just completely inconceivable, and it was almost like, when we've done that, we'll reevaluate and think about what we want to do with our futures. You know, it just was so momentous to us. And then, of course, 1 shifted to 10, and then to 5 to 10 to 15 to 20. 200. We haven't got there yet. We're not getting there.
All right, but like when you play one of the first times on TV, you had to play drums. I think one of the first live things. You had to do it for one of the first times ever. Was that more scary than going out into, say, Wembley, or say the big thing in the park in London, Tea in the Park, wherever it's called, 100,000 people, and doing a gig? Was that scarier than that?
Yeah. If you asked me to do that now, and this was just say it was the beginning of our career now, I would be absolutely in a state. I remember it so well. I think it was it the Late Late Show? Or
No,
was it?
I Am the Music.
No, I didn't play. I did play piano on that. There was, I forget which show it was now, and I was probably setting up my own.
Colin, it was the
thing.
Late Late Show.
It was the Late Late Show, and I was playing Love to Love You, and I had just learned how to play drums, had been to like a couple of lessons, and all of a sudden I was on stage doing it, and I was so nervous about it. And you would consider that more nerve-wracking than what I would do now, like go out to Lansdowne Road and do a gig like that. I mean, it was because I was so young, and so what am I doing? You know.
But I mean, like, pivotal stuff happened to people in their lives all the time, like just making the right decision at the right time. We just mentioned there about the David Foster thing. You did it, you got a deal with Atlantic then by the next day or whatever it was, and it worked out perfectly. When the BBC thing came along a few years ago, where you played at the Royal Albert Hall, and it was St. Patrick's Day, and even the BBC had been honest, they said first of all it was Royal Albert Hall, secondly it was St. Patrick's Day. The Corrs were like, it could have been some other Irish actor. It wasn't you. They were saying, please, it was the Corrs, this kind of thing. But it worked out brilliantly. The album, whatever it was, the single went from number 50 something to 20 something the next day, and all this. Those kind of things and those kind of like opportunities that come along, if the luck is happening, are you only thinking about, I have to drum with Mick Fleetwood here, shut up, I don't care, nothing else matters?
Well, yeah. If I know, when that time it was mentioned, you know, we're doing Dreams and all that sort of thing, and you know, Mick Fleetwood, we've asked him, will he do the show with it? And I went, Mick Fleetwood, are you joking? I mean, you know, what am I going to do here? And you know, that has been our career. Throw us in the deep end and see what happens. Yeah. And it isn't, sometimes it's quite scary, but at the same time it's something that you actually do excel under pressure. Some people do excel, some people crumble. I think with us, we have excelled under pressure a lot of the time, and I think for that, you know, gig especially, Mick Fleetwood, it was incredible because the both of us had to play the same song together, which is quite hard to get two drummers who've never played together. And we just did like a sound check to actually get it right. And he was wonderful. I mean, he's just such a great, nice guy, and he was just all up for it.
Now here you go again. You say you want your freedom. Well, who am I to keep you down? It's only right that you should play the way you feel it. But listen carefully to the sound of your loneliness, like a heartbeat drives you mad. In the stillness of
when you do a gig now in the Corrs, there's an acoustic section in the middle, right? Is that important to you particularly, and if so, why? As a musician, or is it for the dynamics of the set, or what is it?
It's for all of those things. It contributes greatly to the dynamics in the set. Our sound generally is the full electric setup, and it's a particular sound. And for us to bring a song back down to something much more organic is very joyful for us to do, and it can be the testament to how good a song can be. Just there the other day, we did a gig in Paris to competition winners. It was just fully acoustic, unplugged. And that was great fun. And sometimes, particularly when you're doing instrumentals, traditional Irish songs, a lot of them just sound best.
Yeah.
With minimum instruments. And certainly the old saying "less is more" comes into play there.
But also the fact that you're songwriters and you write your own stuff. When you bring anything down to an acoustic level or an unplugged level, there's nothing left but the bare greatness or crapness, whatever it happens to be in the song. It stands alone by itself. It's not, produced up or whatever. Speaking of produced, though, the sound on In Blue to me would be more of a transatlantic thing. Not to say that you're leaving any Irish kind of things behind, but there seems to be more of a let's be a little bit into the arms of the American producer more than we might have been, and see if he wants to try to make it more of an international sound than we have had before. Would I be right?
Yeah. Well, every record we've done has been different, and actually, we did Talking Corners in America as well, and we've always worked with a few American producers. That's always been the way since the beginning with David Foster, with Forgiven Not Forgotten. But funnily enough, on Blue, which is strange, we did 3 songs with Mutt Lang. The rest we practically did ourselves.
All right.
Which is quite strange for that record, and people always think it's got, it was just 3 songs at Mutt. So actually I would consider other records more of an American feel in some ways, if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
I don't understand with the likes of Breathless or, All the Love in the World, maybe a little bit, but we've always had a mixture of different sounds in our music. It's always been traditional, it's always been a slight American thing as well.
Right.
I think always there.
Okay, Andrea, the lyrics, you're mainly the lyric writer, aren't you? What does that mean, 80%, 90%?
I read a lot of them, yeah.
And I know that you were a bit of a swat in school. You got 4 honours in your living. Well, slightly. Well, that's pretty good. It's more than I got. So I call that a swat.
You got more than that,
You got more than that.
Oh, you got more than that? Oh, sorry. Oh, God, I'm wrong. Sorry. But would one of them have been English?
Yes.
And does that help in any way? Used to you write some stuff in school that you'd be maybe embarrassed about now or whatever? When did you...
I'm just embarrassed now. Yeah, I mean, English was my favourite, and it's the one I did best in. And yeah, but like everybody, I wrote essays, but I'd get into it. That I kind of enjoyed that.
Right.
Yeah. So.
But one of the songs on the album, on the In Blue album, which is dedicated to your mother, is a song, No Cry. What's it called?
No More Cry.
Yeah, No More Cry. No More Cry would seem to me to be that if that's the main song for your mother, that it wouldn't be as in your face as it is. I mean, is that just my prejudice? I would have thought it would have been mellower.
See, that's the thing. You see, I mean, what music then suddenly meant was a very different thing, and writing a song was a very different thing after she died. And pain and grief isn't eloquent.
Right.
It doesn't say things poetically. It makes sounds. It's guttural, and No More Cry is really like a very like I am now, but not an eloquent rebellion against what we were feeling and what I was feeling, and trying to find some reason and trying to make it okay, and just more to just go stop it, and that can be fast. That's upbeat. Not upbeat as in, my heart's soaring with happiness, but that's a fast emotion.
Right. Yeah.
So, it just kind of was very, very cathartic, very, very therapeutic, and just very natural.
Right.
And, it's just what happened that day.
Okay, when you get voted number 1 sexiest or most desirable whatever woman are, and I'm sure that's a good laugh and it's great and it's fantastic and it's brilliant, but what about the other stuff? That, for instance, like a headline like, Poor Andrea can't get a man.
I love that one.
Do you like that one or laugh at that one, or do you hate that one? What's the reaction?
I kind of laugh at them all. I mean, when it's something like that, I mean, I just hate that pathetic creature that has been created, and I mean, I really wouldn't very much like her. Never mind, like to be her.
Right.
But you know, it really doesn't really mean that much to me or any of us.
Yeah.
You know, it's all kind of entertainment, and I think in this world, whatever it is, these things are kind of important. They do have their place.
Yeah.
You know,
exactly,
if somebody's day gets remotely lit up on like looking at, you know, almost fantastical characters that are in a play.
Today, would you be happier if you weren't so on together? But sunshine brighter